of starting something is an ally at first, but it becomes a formidable enemy when it fades and makes you wonder if something is wrong. You greatly reduce this risk, however, by not relying on your motivational and feelings in the first place. It's great to be enthusiastic, but let's assume that mindset as a bonus rather than the cue for taking action. It's better to do something because you choose to do it. A solid foundation. It's better to do something because you choose to do it. A solid foundation that does not fluctuate widely. Lack of enthusiasm after some time is counterintuitive, a positive sign that control is moving to the more stable and automated basal ganglia. The predictive enthusiasm decrease is one reason why you see so many people drop their exercise plans after January. Despite their success exercise, they'll notice I'm not feeling motivated anymore and stop going. Perhaps if they understood why they didn't feel motivated anymore, they be encouraged and continue. As a main strategy, motivations might be good enough to get you by in life maybe, but it's a poor choice compared to the willpower. While willpower is the best strategy, most people don't know how to use it and drain their willpower reserve quickly. Despite everything I have said, don't worry, you can still enjoy your routine very much. You will always be a human with feelings with and emotions. I'm not asking you to never feel any again. I'm asking you to never let your feelings stop you again. Why willpower beats motivation? Now that I've bashed motivation, I'm going to tell you how to get more of it. Contradiction. No, the reason I don't like motivation isn't because it's bad. For example, I need a baseline level of motivation to write these words, but motivation, through no fault of its own, has been masqueraded about town as the solution to personal growth. It's like if I told you carrots cured cancer, carrots are good for you, but they would likely cure anyone of cancer. So now this good thing, carrot, has been made into an enemy of the truth and is deceiving people in this way. Motivation is an evil carrot. The mini habit willpower strategy is very conducive to motivation, which again is good but unreliable. I've found that by using willpower, motivation becomes more reliable. Motivation comes fast when you take action first. There are three reasons why forcing yourself to take actions with willpower is far better than trying to get motivated. Willpower is reliable. Unlike motivation based techniques, willpower is extremely reliable. If you force yourself to do something, no matter what, that's dependable, of course, that only if you can force yourself to do it. And it just so happens that these next two advantages of willpower make it even more reliable. Willpower can be strengthened. Unlike motivation, willpower can be strengthened like a muscles. Leading self-control researcher Professor Roy Baumeister found in 1999 that a student who had exercised their willpower to improve their posture for 2 weeks showed a marked improvement on subsequent measure of self-control compared to those who hadn't worked on their posture. Another study found that a 2 month aerobic exercise program resulted in improvement in other unrelated self control activities. This is the self improvement goal. These studies suggest we can strengthen our very ability to improve ourselves, but if something neither works the first time nor any time after you're spinning your wheels by continually trying, motivation works sometimes. So try to tricky to evaluate, but if you look at your long-term results using motivation, you might see that it isn't working consistently. Motivation is not something that easy to improve neither, because when your dogs dies, your mood will darken. When you are tired or in a bad mood, you won't feel like exercising, but you can, however, improve your ability to take action despite feeling resistance due to emotional trauma, lack of confidence, bad moods, or low energy level. This is a willpower. Willpower strategies can be scheduled. If you rely on motivation, you will have a difficult time striking to a schedule. When it's time to write, who knows if you'll be motivated or not. It's unpredictable and not calendar friendly. Using willpower to you can schedule an activity and do it whether you are motivated at the time or not. This allow for consistency, which is both habit and calendar friendly. Habits aren't made from general plans to write when you can or exercise when the star aligns. You've got to put the tasks on your calendar and do it, and that requires willpower. The big questions remain: how can we maintain consistent success using willpower? To answer these questions, let's summarize that what science tell us about willpower and take it from there. How willpower works. It used to be believed that willpower was an ultimate source of well, the idea was that if you wanted something enough, you would always have enough willpower to make yourself get it. That idea changed when the Bannisters conducted a somewhat cruel study in 1996. It started with 67 people in a room which was promptly saturated with the tempting smells of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. Then they brought the cookies and other chocolate treats into the room. Here's a cruel twist: only some of the participants were given chocolate treats to eat. Other, God help them, were giving radishes to snack on instead. Even as a person who loves snacking on raw radishes, I feel their pain. God help them, were giving radishes to snack on instead. Even as a person who loves snacking on a raw radishes, I feel their pain. Scientists from the study humorously noted that quite a few of the radish eaters appear to exhibit clear interest in the chocolates to the point of looking longingly at the chocolate display, and in a few cases even picking up the chocolate to sniff at the end. I bet 255, as I said, cruel. After this, chocolate and radish participant alike were given a puzzle to solve. Those who ate radishes spent less than half the time attempting the puzzle as those who have consumed chocolate, and they attempted to solve it fewer times before giving up. It appears that having to eat radish instead of cookies drained their willpower to continue struggling. With the puzzle, Ministers named this phenomena ego depletion. There have since been dozens of studies verifying the results from this groundbreaking study. Decisions drain willpower too. Don't just blame the radishes. A self control study found people who made a difficult decision earlier in the day were more likely to cave in a temptation later, showing a decrease in self control. It seems that big decisions share the same pool of energy as our willpower. I imagine that anything that uses the prefrontal cortex could have this effect because the prefrontal cortex handles short term memory and current thinking, but you couldn't typically think that making a tough decision could adversely affect your ability to resist ice cream or force yourself to exercise later in the day. This means one thing: we have got to maximize your self control reserve to be effective at changing ourselves. I include this just to show how other things can undercut our willpower reserve, making the philosophy behind many habits even more important. An important meta analysis of willpower. A meta analysis is the study of studies that attempts to extract information that attempt to extract important conclusions from the body of related work on a given topic that helps to smooth on possible abbreviation aberrations from individual studies. If something hold true over dozens of properly conducted studies and thousands of participants, there a very high probability of that data being reliable, illuminating, and useful. In 2010, a meta analysis of 83 studies was done on ego depletion. Ego depletion essentially means the same thing as willpower or self control depletion. So I will use these terms interchangeable. From this meta analysis, the five biggest factors found to cause ego deplections were effort, perceived difficulty, negative effects, subject fatigue, and blood glucose level. These factors then are the five biggest obstacles that keep us from sustaining success with a willpower based strategy. What do we do once we have exhausted our willpower? Is all hope lost? Then, according to the analysis, motivational incentives, trainings on self control takes, and glucose supplementation promoted better self control of self ego depletion people. I bid. This gives us a wealth of information about how best to manage willpower. Here's an important motivation and willpower recap to set up this next part about the mini habits. Strategy for adding healthy habits in your life. New or non-habit behavior are started by using motivation or willpower. Motivation isn't reliable, so it can't be the strategy for building habits. Willpower is reliable, but only if you don't run out of it. There are five main causes of willpower depletion: efforts, perceive, difficulty, negative affect, subjective fatigue, and blood glucose level. There are five causes of willpower depletion: efforts, perceived difficulty, negative effects, subjective fatigue, and blood glucose level. If you are successfully overcome these five hurdles, we should find success. In the next chapter, we'll discuss how many habits fit everything we've covered so far, starting with these five main causes of willpower depletion. The strategy of many habits. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our life, it's what we do consistently. Anthony Robbins. The many habits strategy is forcing yourself to take one for stupid small strategic actions every day. These actions are too small to fail and too small to skip the for special occasions. They serve dual purpose to spark you to do more and becomes mini habits. Now we look at how the mini habit strategy generally applies the principles we've learned thus far. The specific step-by-step instructions of the mini habit strategy comes two chapters after this one. Using willpower the mini habit way, there was a study on ego deplections that found some correlations between believing willpower is unlimited and willpower becomes limited. And those who didn't believe their willpower had a limit appeared to last longer in ego depletion activities. At first, this appears to be a strike against having winning habit because they are designed around the assumptions that willpower is limited as shown in the meta-analysis. But let me explain why many habits are a false save against the ether scenario. If willpower is truly limited, then many habits preserve it by starting small. But say that willpower is only limited by our beliefs that it's limited. That would that That would that mean for many habits, it's great news. You will believe you have unlimited willpower with many habits because they require almost no willpower. Record so in the case that you're bursting at the seams with willpower energy, many habits will get you started and allow you to make great bonus progress. And in the case that you are completely exhausted and out of the willpower, many habits will get you started anyway and allow you to make the most of your capabilities at the time. The belief that you can take action no matter what is built into this theory, and it has not failed me a single time. Not once has my willpower been insufficient to complete a mini habit. Now, I want to highlight again the five main causes of ego depletion found from the 83 study meta-analysis mentioned earlier. The biggest five ego deplections drain were found to be in no particular order: efforts, perceived difficulty, negative effects, subject fatigue, blood glucose level. Let's examine how all five of these willpower traits are mostly or completed nullified by mini habit. Efforts. Mini habits requires very little actual efforts. You are going to be doing one push up, writing 50 words, reading two pages, or other very easy tasks. The subsequent bonus efforts from overachieving is variable, meaning some days will be more productive than other. This is a natural structure that greatly reduces the chance for burnout. I've often planned to write 50 words and writing 2000 words other times. I've written closer to 50 just to meet the requirement. The mini habits system is both rigid and flexible. In strategic places, it's rigid in the beginning, forcing you to start, but it's flexible after that, allowing you to decide how much extra you want to do. The initial effort requires hardly any willpower. Results with many habits, very little ego depletion. Perceived difficulty. Many habits have almost zero perceived difficulty by design, a primary benefits that compound when you do extra. Remember when I talk about the big mountain that my 30 minutes workout was to me, the workout had a very high perceived difficulty. My sense of the difficulty was a greater than the actual difficulty, but when I decided to start with one push-ups and continued in that fashion, when I talk about the big mountain that my 30 minutes workout was to me, that workout had a very high perceived difficulty. My sense of my difficulty was greater than the actual difficulty, but when I decided to start with one push-ups and continue in that fashion, the perceived difficulty dropped substantially. Setting mini goals is the best way to drop the perceived difficulty in any project. Once you started and are free to continue, your perceived difficulty will be much lower due to the psychological impact of having already started, just like physics. The greatest inertia comes before the started to motions. Once you are in motions, everything gets easier as a result of momentum and is increased motivation. Starting even in a small way all also bring your mind into reality, and this is important before you take actions. Your mind can only imagine what a particular behavior would be like. My initial projections of 30 minutes workout was like scaling Mount Everest. It was wrong. When it comes to activities that require physical or mental efforts, it's extremely common to overestimate how difficult they are. After I completed my 30 minutes workout from force starting with one push up, I realized how absurd my initial perceived difficulty was.